and this is Worksop, my hometown. I just thought I'd do a little bit of filming whilst driving through it. It's actually the first time that I've been back in Worksop this year, actually. My parents still live here, but they've been on holiday quite a lot, so I've not been back. I'm actually going today for a takeaway, even though I live about, it's not too far, but I'd say probably about 30 minutes, 45 minutes away now, so it'll probably be cold by the time I get back, but I thought I'd have one to remember it. This area of Worksop is the town area, the top of town area. If I carried on straight there, I would be going to Manton, which is the worst part of Worksop. It's notorious in Worksop as being the worst part. This is still the town centre, the new bus station, just there, just passing it. Straight on, still in the town area, around town. Quite a few look like they've shut down actually. It doesn't look like it's doing very well. But Waddingtons are still there. I think that shop's been there since the early 1900s, I think. It's a tailor's, a suit maker. This is the main fork, it's called, where you can go 3 different ways. And the canals, I'm just on the canal now, on the bridge, which passes straight through Worksop. And then to my right now is a Matalan store, which used to be a co-op, which was actually the first place that I worked. Starting as just a store assistant, and then that sadly closed, and then a supervisor, and then a deputy manager, and then eventually an area manager, but I don't do that anymore. So waiting the traffic lights now to go right. It's not too far. The takeaway that I'm going to is in an area called Kilton, which is the area which near the area where I grew up and where my parents still live now. The house is not actually where I'm going to now, but it's close by. My parents live more towards where the golf course is, and it's not as built up as the rest of Kilton and Worksop. That's just passing the Smith's Flour Mill, which has been there since 1906. Still a mill now today. There's actually a building there that's been knocked down since I last came. There used to be a stocking factory or something like that. That's been knocked down. This is the Kilton Inn pub to the left. Kilton Road. It's sort of like an industrial estate to the left, and it's a Morrison's now to the right, but when I lived here it was a Seafields warehouse type building before, and wasteland more or less, but Morrison's now. The horrible building which you can see to the left, that's not changed. It says Steel and Garland Ltd, but I don't think it is anything to do with steel now. I think they're like little units that people rent out. Small businesses like furniture makers and things like that, I think. I'd imagine that would all be knocked down soon. It looks it's a bit of a mess. I've got the takeaway now. Got to drive all the way back home now. They said, "Oh, I've not seen you for a while." And I says, "Oh no, I moved a few years ago to Southwell." Where's that? It's quite far to go for a takeaway. Go a different way, well, slightly different way back, and go straight on here instead of going up that way. Just wait and go now. My mum's mum had a bungalow just down there when she got older. Straight ahead, the tower that you can see is the old pumping station, and we used to play there when I was a child, me and my friends. And it says it's sold now, but nothing ever happens with it. And it was for sale quite a while, and me and my partner actually put an offer in for it, but it was rejected. And I think they wanted it something to do like social sort of thing, so something that's open to the public or something that benefits the community, whereas we would have had it for a house really, not anything else. I mean, it's not a particularly very large building, but I think the plans that got passed for it was like a community centre and an office complex which they could rent out separately. And that house that's for sale there, actually, we put a bid on that as well. It was actually an old fish and chip shop, and it was going quite cheap, but I think the price got risen, and with it not being sold yet, I think it's quite good that we didn't get that one. And then now we're at the back of the Priory Church, which is a very old church, and there's the gatehouse now to the right, which is very old as well. I think even older than the actual church itself. That was originally there. And then this area, like I say, is Manton now. It's the outskirts of Manton, just heading towards the top of the town area. And there's the police station here, and the town hall, which is called the Queen's Building, which was opened by Her Majesty the Queen in the 80s, and it was the first time that I actually saw Her Majesty when I was a child. I came here. I had to beg, well, not beg, I think that's a bit over the top, but I had to, not convince, but persuade my parents to take me to go and see her. Even though we used to go to town quite every week, Mum used to go shopping into town, but she just wasn't one for crowds and things. But I did manage to see Her Majesty that day. There's the cinema now to the left, which is new. That wasn't there when I lived here. When I lived here, there was a small cinema called the Regal, where if it was a long film, I can remember watching the Titanic, they had to change the film reels halfway through, and curtains would go over the screen, and it was very old-fashioned. I think it's still open now as a theatre, and I don't think it plays films like it once did. And then this area now is called Watermeadows, which is this is a nice area. There's quite a few large houses. The only thing that lets this area down for me is the fact that there's two secondary schools and also land which used to be with a house is now being used as a new build development, and which you can't see on camera, but it's just to the left there now, and it sort of ruins the whole street. It was a street of just large detached houses, before privately owned, nice gates and things like that, and I think it's the street's ruined now by breaking it up with a development which should have been someone's nice garden. That street. I think it is probably one of the most more expensive areas in Worksop, which is not an inexpensive town anyway. It is quite cheap housing there, especially compared to the south, which is normal for anywhere in Nottinghamshire or the East Midlands, Derbyshire, Leicestershire, and so on. But one thing I do, which I did like about living here, I can still enjoy where I live now, is woodland. Plenty of woodland and open spaces. These trees here, which you can see, are the outskirts of Clumber Park, which is it's operated now by the National Trust. But it's a massive area, and they don't charge at the gate like they do at a stately house or something like that. You have to pay if you want to go into the car park, but a lot of the areas are still free, which is good, I think. And also, where it is, I used to be able to get here with my friends on bicycles, and we used to go for picnics, and it was just nice to be out. You could be anywhere, no traffic or anything like that. Very nice, and streams and lakes, and there's still the ruins there of the house which once was there, and in the grounds there's a nice church where my eldest sister Amanda actually got married there, in that church, and it was nice ceremony and everything. I just do like Clumber. If anyone's in the area, in Nottinghamshire area, I'd recommend that you go to Clumber Park. Where I live now is actually closer to Sherwood Forest, which joins onto Clumber Park. You can actually go through Clumber Park, the trees, and you'd be in Sherwood Forest, and you wouldn't actually know that there was a separation there. It's sort of like one continuous forest. But Sherwood Forest obviously gets the more tourists and things, with it being linked to Robin Hood. But I don't think it's as good at all. I do prefer Clumber to Sherwood. Sherwood's nice, there's plenty of trees, you can see the major oak and everything like that, but past the fact that it was Robin Hood there, not really for me. There's no lake or anything like that, or anything. The other place nearby actually is Thoresby Park, and that's another nice place where you can go, and you don't have to pay anything, you can just park in there. There's a small amount of shops in which was the old stable yard. Again, plenty of parkland, actually done by Capability Brown. Again, there's a lake. Sadly, the lake you can't get near because it's the family which used to live in Thoresby still live on the estate, but they've moved out of the main house, Thoresby Hall, and that's actually a hotel now, which is operated by Warner Leisure, which are the ones which do the holidays which is more or less focused at older people, no children. But it's where I actually go there for meals. They know me quite well in there, and they make nice meals and things like that for me. I don't know if you can see on the camera now, but you can see all woodland ahead. Again, that's actually still Clumber Park, just the outskirts of Clumber now. And we're actually going, if we carry on down this road, then we'll be going past Sherwood Forest, which is there. On the left now, again, you can't see on the camera, I'm going to have to get a better camera. There's a detached house there. It must have been for about 10 years, there was nothing at all happening with it. And again, that was another property that I'm really interested in, I'd love to live there. But it was actually owned by by some people who they obviously had the money to start off with, they started building and everything like that, but then I don't know, something must have gone wrong and they didn't have the money to finish it, but it was always their dream to keep that house, so they would never sell the land or anything like that. But it's looking like it's getting nearly built now, but it's still got fencing around it to stop you getting near it, so they obviously don't live there still, which is a shame. So there was actually a house in Clumber Park which was interesting. It was called the Averys, but again the National Trust actually owned it. You could have like a lease or a let on it for like 100 years or something stupid like that. But it's the fact that they would do inspections and things like that which I didn't want. If you're buying a house or putting a lot of money into it, you don't want to be inspected of how you're living each feel. It wouldn't feel very nice to me at all. Now we're coming up to a small roundabout. This is to the left. If I went left now, that would be to Thoresby, which was the place that I told you about. Thoresby Hall and Thoresby Park. And it did actually used to be famous, Thoresby, for a market, an outdoor open air market, which would be every Sunday in the summertime. And it would be absolutely massive. Again, that was a place where me and my friends would go on our bikes and just look around, and it felt quite a fun place. That's how massive it was. And then a few years ago, I'd say probably about 3 years ago, me and my partner had a garden centre, and we closed the garden centre, moved on, got a house and everything like that. So we had thousands of plants left over, so I rented a Newton van and tried to sell the plants at Thoresby Market. And it was, I would say, probably about a quarter the size, maybe even less to what it used to be. The pitch fees were still, I think it cost about £150 for a pitch, a small pitch. All we had was a few Dutch trolleys, which are the things that you put plants on, which you can push on wheels, and that's all we had. It worked out, it wasn't really worth our time, especially when you consider that we rented a van and then the pitch fees and then our time on top of that. It wasn't worth it. And then it was about a year later from that it actually closed. They didn't do the market anymore, so it obviously dwindled until it wasn't viable to do anymore, which in a way is sad, but it's just someone else who was greedy wanted too much for the pitch fees or something like that. To the right now is the entrance to Sherwood Forest, the visitor centre. That's something that for years and years now has been supposed to be getting a treetop walk and millions of pounds investment to be put on there and things like that. And plans have been passed now by I think it was the RSPB which come up with plans which got passed for a new visitor centre, but nothing ever seems to happen. And every time I go there, which we go for a walk probably about once a month or something like that, sometimes more if it's nice weather, and you see lots of which are clearly foreign tourists which have come to the area, specifically go to Sherwood Forest to see where Robin Hood was. I just think it must be a major disappointment because it's a very small visitor centre. There's a small area which you can walk through, which gives you a few like models and things like that, but it's not particularly very good. Then there's a small room where they've got a video playing on loop which tells you a little about it, and that's about it. That's it. And then you walk through. The paths are quite well maintained. It's easy to navigate, but it's all fenced off. You can't walk anywhere you like. It's all specifically pathed out. And then there's the major oak, which is the big English oak tree there. which is it's hundreds and hundreds of years old. There's speculation to how old it is. Again, that's all fenced off, which is good for obvious reasons, that it could get damaged and things like that. And it's just quite dangerous as well, because it's so large. Obviously pieces can drop off it from time to time. And there is supports around it and things like that. And there's a few boards there with information and old photos of it through the years, how it looked in certain areas and things like that, which is informative. But again, it's not anything there that's exciting for tourists or for visitors to appreciate. This area now is Ollerton, called New Ollerton. Again, I mean, it seems like everywhere I go there's a house that we wanted, but it was quite a while ago now on the SOMM.UK forum that I posted a picture of a house. It was actually the house that was the I don't know if it was the gamekeeper. No, not the gamekeeper. It was something to do, someone who was important to do with the Rufford Abbey estate, which again is up here, and that was the house to that. Again, that's been derelict for years and years and years. Again, we put an offer in for it, quite a good offer, but again the council were reluctant. They wanted something which would benefit the community. We wanted it as a private home, but again nothing's happening with it. It's an eyesore, it's falling further and further into disrepair. I just don't understand why. It would be better to have a house there which is neat and tidy and presentable, rather than a crumbling ruin which is just going to get worse and worse over time. And yes, ahead is Rufford Abbey, which is the trees you can see now. Rufford Abbey was another large home. It's now operated by Nottinghamshire County Council and English Heritage. Part of the building is still there, but it is a ruin. And again, there's photos there which you can see how large the house was. It went into disrepair shortly after the Second World War, to do with death duties and things like that, which many houses happened to. And it fell into such disrepair that they actually tore down quite a large proportion of the house, which is quite sad, but that's gone now. It's called Rufford Abbey because it was an abbey, which obviously got rid of during Henry VIII's reign, when the Roman Catholic Church was outed, and the Church of England was established, so it no longer was an abbey, but it kept being Rufford Abbey. Part of where the monks and people lived is still intact, and there's obviously not the original pieces, but there's a table there that shows you where they would have their meals, and things like that, where they pray, which is quite interesting. Again, there's a large lake area, quite a few different waterfowl, swans, geese, ducks, things like that. And every year they get quite a few new hatchlings there, babies and things, which is quite nice. How the lake has been done, it's got a gradual slope, so it's almost like a shoreline, so it's almost like a beach area, where children can feed the ducks, or adults. I feed the ducks, where you feed the ducks and they can come into you and things like that, and that's quite nice. And then around the lake there's various bridges over the lake. Again, that's a nice area. Most of the time that's free again to park, but certain times of year during the school holidays and things like that, they charge, I think it's something like £2 or something like that, £3. It's not too much, but I've got a pass for it, a yearly pass, which I get every year.